A mixture containing 3% boric acid is to be mixed with 1 quart of 17% boric acid in order to obtain a mixture of 13% boric acid. How much of the 3% solution must be used? The first thing we need to do is look at the different boric acids we have. We have 3% and 17%, and we want to mix those together to get the 13%. So let's write those down. The first thing we need to do is figure out, well, what's the percent? Well, that's not too hard to figure out because 3% we're going to write as just 0.03. That's 3%. Remember, we always want to change our percents to decimals. So the next one is 17%, so we're just going to change that to 0.17. And 13% is 0.13. The next thing we need to know is how much of each do we have, or do we need? So first of all, we have a mixture containing 3% boric acid. Do we know how much that is? No, because in the last sentence it asks how much of the 3% solution must be used. So we're going to put an X there. Do we happen to know how much 17% acid there is? We sure do, because it says to be mixed with 1 quart of 17% boric acid. So we're going to put a 1 there. That's 1 quart. Now we want a total mixture of 13% acid. So how much do we have of the 13% acid? Well, it's however many quarts of the 3% plus the 1 quart of the 17%. To figure out our total, we multiply straight across. So we take 0.03 times x, which is 0.03x. Then we take 0.17 times 1, remember that's 1 quart that they tell us we have, to get our final mixture of 0.13 times x plus 1. It's x plus 1 because we don't know exactly what the total is going to be, how many quarts we're going to have. So let's figure out an equation. Well, we take the total amount of 3% acid plus the total amount of 17% acid, and that should give us the total amount of 13% acid. Well, what is our total amount of 3% acid? Well, it's this guy right here. So we have 0.03x plus our total amount of 17% acid, which we just figured out is 0.17 times 1. And that should equal our total amount, 0.13 times x plus 1. Now, the only thing left is algebra. So let's simplify this a little bit. This is 0.03x plus, well, 0.17 times 1 is 0.17. And that should equal, remember, I'm going to distribute. I need to distribute my 0.13. So I have 0.13x plus 0.13 times 1 is just 0.13 without the x. So we're going to erase that guy. Okay. Next thing we want to do is collect like terms. Well, if I look on the left side, I can't put those together. And if I look on the right side, they're not like terms either. The next step is to get all the x's on one side and everything else on the other side. So I'm going to start by subtracting my 0.13x from both sides. I'm really getting rid of it on the right side. Then you make a big line. Well, 0.13 minus 0.13 is negative 0.1x, or 10x. And then I'm going to rewrite everything else that I have. Next, I want to get rid of this 0.17 because I want the x by itself. So I just simply subtract it. Remember, you have to do it to both sides of the equal sign. So I end up with negative 0.1x equals negative 0.04. I'm running out of room, so I'm going to make a little arrow here. So what I have is negative 0.1x equals negative 0.04. I want to solve for x, so I need to divide by negative 0.1. on both sides. So I end up with x to equal 4. So now we have to ask ourselves, what is x? Well, let's look back at our table. X is the amount of 3% solution. So my answer is, how much of the 3% solution must be used? That's going to be 4 quarts. And you need to write out quarts. Okay? If I was to ask you how much is my total solution, well, that would be right here. Where I take the total amount of 3% acid plus a total amount of 17% acid. And what would that be? Well, x is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. So in the end, I would end up with 5 quarts of the 13% acid solution.